Premiership Final for this year. Leicester get it done. 15 points to 12. Couldn't have been much closer. It's the one droppy at the end, which is essentially the difference maker. In this one, we'll go through some key events and stats, and you guys can let me know your thoughts on how this one went. Obviously, at Twickenham, there's always going to be a good crowd there. I think they got pretty good value for money. Certainly a lot of kicking. This game played out as finals are often like to do, right? Teams play for territory, and maybe the amount of offloads and whatnot you see is a bit reduced, although Saracens still chuck the ball around a wee bit, maybe a bit too much at times. But they actually got the first points on the board. Penalty, Liebenberg with a late tackle. Sarries boys out in front, but Leicester did well to not kind of be bossed around early. They did get some momentum back. The Sarries boys ended up having to defend a 5-metre scrum on their own line after Goode was caught and kind of carried back over the line. But Saracens got a scrum penalty out of that one anyway. So, real kind of, momentum shifts early both ways. Not just because I've watched a couple of finals this weekend. Not just one side really pushing the other side around to start the game off. Ford missed a long shot at goal on 21 minutes. Then about 2 minutes later, he ended up going off. And I was a wee bit worried for Leicester at that time. Because I know Burns has been a pretty, he's been a pretty good stand-in for George Ford when he's been unavailable this season. But I've just got burned into my brain Burns when he's playing for Bath, going in for that try and tapping the logo on his chest, and then who was it? One of the Toulouse guys slapping the ball from behind him, like an absolute calamitous moment. But Burns does all right, doesn't he? Freddie Burns, he does okay. And the fact that he gets the winning points in this game will hopefully burn something new into my mind, so I won't just remember him for that kind of one thing. Davies gets a yellow card for a high tackle on Montoya, all from a missed line out from Sarries. And honestly, I don't know about in the Premiership, but in Super Rugby at the start of the season, that's a red card all day long. They were really, I've talked about this multiple times, they were really, really, really strict on any kind of head contact from upright tackles. They didn't talk about, in recent weeks, it's all been about, there's not been a lot of force in it. He's kind of passive in the tackle. That's a relatively recent change. But, I mean, obviously you don't want red cards in the final if you don't need them. So he does get yellow carded. And that leads directly to the first try of the game. So it's kind of costly. Liebenberg, who gave away the first 3 points, is the man who gets the try. It's a bunch of phases. It all starts from Steward with a line break. And Ashton going close. So 7 points to 3. 7 points during the yellow card. But Sarries do get 3 points back with a Daly long-range penalty before the yellow card concludes. So the yellow card finishes 7-3, so not as costly as it could be. It's 7-6 on the scoreboard with Leicester just the point in front. But they get the second try and final try of the game through Jasper, who ends up getting man of the match. That one's a 5-metre tap, and then the second phase from there, after Genge had taken the initial one, he goes over kind of towards the right-hand touchline. They can't get the conversion, but it's 12 points to 6, and Leicester are looking pretty good. I mean, Wigglesworth is he's controlling the game well at the back of that ruck, isn't he? So 50-50 is the position at halftime. Territory is 53-47. Pretty close stuff. Burns misses a long-range penalty at the start of the second half, so it's a couple of missed penalties for the Leicester boys, so you're wondering, is that going to be costly? But they hit it 50-22. Not long later, their Maul manages to get some advantage. They've really got a long period of pressure down the Saracens 22. They probably should be scoring, but credit to the Saracens' defence. They can't break them down, the Leicester boys, and then eventually Saracens are able to exit with another scrum penalty. So, they walk away with nothing from all that. The Leicester boys, Sarries get a penalty down the other end. They slot that one, so it was 12-9, which is proper game on. The Leicester guys make a few subs to maybe swing the momentum a bit, because it's definitely back with Saracens. 72 minutes, Christie for Saracens gets a big line break. Doesn't look like they're going to convert, but eventually when there's a high tackle by Matt Scott on Billy V, that's another one of these yellow cards which potentially could have been a red a few months ago, but anyway, it's not. It's the same as kind of Ella Davis's one. It's a penalty to Sarries, It's 12 points apiece with 5 to play. So proper edge of your seat final stuff, which is what you want in a final. You don't want it to be lopsided if possible. But man, 79 minutes. Leicester, despite having a man down, go through a load of phases. And Burns, who's not straight out in front, but he's in the right spot, and he slots the drop goal. And he doesn't get overexcited. He reminds his guys that there's still 30 seconds to play. And sure enough, the Leicester boys are able to hang on for a pretty bloody close win. When the whistle is blown, Borthwick looks totally not phased, but I think he does kind of take a moment to let it sink in. But quite the job he's done with Leicester. It's quite the turnaround from where they were just a season or two ago. So, yeah, really, really pleasing stuff for Leicester. Obviously, commiserations to the Saracens boys, but to bounce straight back up from the Championship and make the final, you come within, one drop goal of being on the same score is still pretty bloody decent. Possession finish 53-47, territory 48-52, so not much in it. Tackling percentages, both sides are in the 80s. Saracens had to make a few more. Saris knocked the ball on 9 times to 3, which in this kind of game is pretty costly. Kicks from hand was hugely high, 58-46. Maybe the most kicks from hand I've seen in any game ever. That's a lot of kicking. Wiese gets man of the match, like I mentioned. 12 carries, his try, 3 defenders beaten, 10 from 11 tackles. Not a bad shift. Billy V, on the other hand, 107 metres. That's massive. 6 defenders beaten, 4 offloads. I think he alone had more offloads than Leicester. Freddie Steward, 68 metres, a clean break and 5 defenders beaten. Also not bad. Earl, top tackler of the game with 18, although he does miss 3. But, yeah, well done to the Leicester boys. Quite the season, quite the comeback they have had. They've been good all year, and it's a good reward for them. A few of their boys are off at the end of the season, so that's a good way to sign off. And, yeah, we'll see how things go next season. But, yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the game. And, yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.